Hey class, welcome to week 2 of COMM 317 for the fall 2019 term. I'd like to welcome you guys all to the second week of our class and thank you for all of you who were able to complete the week 1 material by watching the video lecture and obviously reading chapter 1 to prepare for today's lecture. If you haven't read chapter 1 yet from our textbook, don't worry about it too much. We are only reviewing one chapter and I do that purposely. This way it gives you guys enough time for your textbook to come in, so if it hasn't come in yet, you really only have one chapter to catch up on. So let's go ahead and take a look at our lesson for this week. Remember, in order to access everything, you will need to click on the Lessons tab here. So for week 2, I just would like to remind you guys that we will post our weekly activities here under the Lessons tab, and each week is going to start on Thursday of that week at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and it will end on Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. So for example, week 2 for this week will be from Thursday, September 5th at 12 o'clock to Wednesday, September 11th. Now for weeks like this, it is fine if you want to log in later on in the week to complete the video lecture and and do your readings. However, keep in mind there are certain things I want to discuss. Let's take a quick look at our syllabus. If we go down to our course schedule, you're going to see for week 4 we have quiz 1, which is going to be chapters 1 through 3. For this week, I would highly recommend trying to log in a little earlier in the week, at least by Sunday or Monday. This way, it gives you a couple days to review some more material and also complete the quiz for Chapter 3, which will be done online in Sakai. Also, for week 5 here, we have our discussion form that you're going to complete that week. For your discussion form, you are going to answer a question, and you are going to post your answer as a main post. And this is going to need to be completed by Sunday night of the week. In addition, you are going to need to respond to 2 other posts. So you're going to have one main post responding to the discussion prompt, and you're also going to need to respond to 2 of your classmates. So what I do for these weeks is your main post is due on Sunday. And I do this because if I didn't, everybody would be posting their main post on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, not giving your classmates enough time to respond. This way, if all the main posts are completed by Sunday night, it gives content for students to reply to on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for that week. So for weeks like this, please make sure to log in early to the week to see what you need to do. Alright, let's go ahead and go back to our weekly content for this week. So you can see here, items to complete for this week, watch your week 2 video lecture, and make sure to read chapters 2 and 3. This way, for the start of week 3, you are caught up. And also, you're going to see here that our additional items for the week, we have our COMM 317 Chapter 1 lecture, where you can see here before we did not have any items. But for this week, this is where I'm going to post all the material, whether it is your quiz or your discussion that you're going to need to go to. Everything will be posted here. But for this week, we only have our Chapter 1 video lecture. So let's go ahead and open up our PowerPoint and talk a little bit about what Chapter 1 discusses in your media flight plan. So I want to talk a little bit about basic marketing and media language. So for this chapter, it's going to really build a foundation to understand where the advertising industry is going and what you need to do in order to make sure that you have your fundamentals of marketing and media language understood. So understanding the language for common communication between media planners, buyers, and their sellers. There's different lingo, different vocabulary that you're going to learn about during this term from our textbook. Now, granted, you don't need to really have to memorize every keyword. However, it's a good idea to have an understanding of the bigger keywords, which is what we're going to discuss. Grasp what grasp what they mean rather than memorizing them. If you can get a good idea for what these terms mean, it's going to really give you a better understanding of what it is. Such as, for example, one of the terms you're going to learn about is impressions. And when you're scrolling through your social media apps, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, let's say on your mobile device, and when an ad pops up and you scroll past that ad, that is considered an impression. And that's what an impression means. And that's not the definition of it, but knowing what it means will be more important than actually memorizing the exact definition of it. So those are things you want to keep in mind, because for those of you who are interested in getting into media planning, buying or selling or creating ads, these are the vocabulary words that you're going to have to know what they mean. Again, don't memorize them, but have a good understanding of what they mean. So let's take a quick look on how to select your advertising medium. So I'm not going to watch this video right now during our lecture, but please go ahead and open up your PowerPoint. You're going to make sure you have it on full screen, and then you're going to click on the link like what I did below, and it will take you to the um, video to watch. So go ahead and pause this recording and go ahead and watch the YouTube video called How to Select Your Advertising Medium. So now that you have a good understanding on how to select your advertising medium, it's good to really make sure you process the information to a point, is this something that I would think would be best processed over television, through a print advertisement, online, digitally, whether it's social media, an email blast. These are a lot of things that you need to consider when moving forward, creating media plans and selecting mediums for your advertisement. So let's take a look at the first keyword that you will need to know. Universe. This is considered the population. So the universe is a group of persons sharing a common characteristic. So whether it could be women ages 18 through 49, or adults living in D countries or C countries, whatever it may be, that is the universe that you are going to take from. So if I want to create a survey, I need to think about what universe I want to go towards. Or if I want to create an advertisement, who am I going to market to? What is the universe? And they do have a limit, whether it's a total US population or whether you might be looking at the Detroit metropolitan area. And they can be added or subtracted. So for example, let's say you're looking at women 18 through 35 and you want to add in men from the ages of 18 to 35. Now your universe is going to change to all adults ages 18 to 35. Or if you would like to take a look at subtracting, you need women 50 and over. So you would then subtract women from the ages of 18 through 49. So now you only have women for ages 15 and over. An impression, which is something I dabbled on a little bit earlier in our lecture, it's an opportunity for someone to see an ad. There is no guarantee the viewer will see it. Let's take a look at a TV example. Let's say during a Super Bowl commercial, someone pays a lot of money for a commercial to run. Well, what if during the commercial someone gets up to leave to maybe grab a bite to eat or to use the restroom? You don't know if they looked at it or not. Social media example. What if they scroll right past the advertisement? Now it's recorded that that person, it was shown in that person's wall or news feed, but it's not a guarantee that they actually clicked on it or looked at it. That is what an impression is. Exposure. So this occurs when a person consumes an ad. So you actually get exposure for an ad. It's difficult to measure and it's really not commonly used when you're creating a media plan, but rather impressions are going to be used more because you can't really tell how much exposure an ad can get for looking at metrics, but you can with impressions. Think of exposure to the medium, not exposure to the ad. So what kind of exposure do they have to the television or exposure do they have to their mobile device to look at digital advertising? Let's take a look at net reach or reach. So a count of persons with at least one impression. So the number of impressions is irrelevant because each person is only counted one time. So they might get 5 impressions, but it's really only counted one time. This doesn't tell a media planner much by itself, so it is expressed as a percentage. And by expressing it as an percentage, you're actually getting a better idea of it. So the reach for an individual program is called a rating, which I am sure you have heard. What kind of ratings does this television show have, and so on and so on. And this is what the formula looks like here. So your reach is equal to the number of persons reached divided by the number of persons in the universe times 100. So you're not going to have to worry about formula calculations. Those won't be questions that will be on the quizzes or exams. I don't expect you to memorize them, but it's good to have an understanding of how to conduct these formulas. Now the rating, it's a portion of a demographic universe that is exposed to a specific media vehicle expressed as a percentage. So when you're looking at a rating, it's really just the portion of that universe that's exposed to that media. And here's what the formula looks like. So the rating is equal to the number of persons exposed to a vehicle divided by the number of persons in a universe, and then multiply it by times 100 to get the percentage. Share. This is the portion of the available TV radio audience that is viewing a particular television program. This helps put ratings into perspective. So if you're looking, for example, at the Late Show with Stephen Colbert versus NCIS on page 4, this is a great example that helps discuss what share is. So take a look at that on page 4 of your textbook. And the formula is the share equals rating divided by the PUT times 100. And that is exactly how you're going to get the share, which will give you a better idea. So let's take a look at net versus gross. So net is the number of people, which is unique. Gross is the number of times for each person. So if you're looking at this went to, we had 2,000 impressions, but we net only 1,500 people actually looking at the ad. So you're going to see a difference between the net and the gross. So gross is a total number, whereas the net is going to be the specific amount of people who actually looked at it or engaged in it. Gross impressions. This is the total number of times impressions were seen. So it could be multiple. It could be viewed multiple times by one person. So if you view if an ad pops up 5 different times in your news feed over a week, this is going to count as the gross impressions. The gross rating points, which is also known as GRPs or even GURPS, people can be counted more than once. So if you're looking at different rating points, people, if they are in that rating point because they viewed a program multiple times, they can be counted more than once. And the formula for your GRPs is the gross impressions divided by the universe times 100. Again, don't be too concerned about these formulas. I don't expect you to know them for any of the quizzes or exams, but it's good to have an idea of where they are located, especially if you're looking to get into media buying or something in the advertising industry where you will be using these. It is good to know them. Frequency distributions. Repetition is required to learn or remember an advertising message. So effective frequency, when target audience members have reached the appropriate level of advertising, which is the required number of impressions, the ad becomes effective. So it's almost like if you're driving and you see a billboard, you might not really pay attention to it. However, once you start viewing it multiple times, this is when it starts becoming effective. And you really start looking at it like, okay, I've seen that ad a few times before. I now understand what they're doing. Now this is when it becomes an effective ad. Media costs and comparisons. So getting the best bang for your buck is going to be extremely important when you're creating these advertising budgets, because this is what's going to give you an idea of how much you're going to pay for a certain ad to run. Now you have the cost per thousand, which is a CPM. This is the cost of delivering 1,000 gross impressions. So how much do I pay for 1,000 people to for an ad to be shown 1,000 times? Now it could be shown to 500 people. Maybe each person sees it 2 times. That's still 1,000 gross impressions. And then you have your cost per points. CPP, this is the cost of one rating point. What does it cost you to get that one rating point? Then you have some additional print terms to know. Composition, this is the makeup of a magazine audience. You know, what kind of composition does Time magazine have, or Vanity? Circulation, this is the number of copies distributed by a publication. So maybe a newspaper has 100,000 people in their circulation. These are the amount of people who see the newspaper or who receive the newspaper. Coverage is the portion of household which receive the actual delivery. So again, chapter 1 really just talks about a lot of the terms. Make sure you read through it, you have a good understanding. I hope that my lecture has helped explain a few of them a little bit more in detail and depth. But make sure you do read chapter 1 before the end of the week, and also chapter 2 and 3. So this way, by the time week 3 starts and you watch the lecture, you have a good understanding of what chapters 2 and 3 talk about. And next week we will have our quiz. Just to give you an idea, the quiz will be made available on September 19th, and it is going to go and run throughout the entire week. And it will be due on September 25th by 11:55 p.m. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching the video lecture for this week. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to me. I do have my cell phone number here. You could text me, even call me, whatever is easier for you guys. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll see you guys all next week. Take care. Have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.